Hari Om and Jai Gurudev. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankara Vavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. There was so much of logic in all of what was read today. So much of logical conclusions that Shankara has brought about. Yeah. We can share what we have understood or any clarifications.
When you say, I am Atma, okay, Ama Brahma, say, like that, you have to have that conviction that you are not touched by any raga, dvesha, that, this, etc. If you are touched means, again, you are ignorant. You see? So that has to be really, really felt. Otherwise, it is again a mithya.
Yeah, I just want to go through this mithya pratyaya and the gauna pratyaya one more time. This gauna is a new concept that we got today. Till now we knew mithya, but this gauna expression is brought about by this Purva Pakshi.
No, means gauna is like you roar like a lion. You roar like a lion. You are not a lion. You know it. That is gauna. But here you are Atma means you are Atma actually. If you don't feel that, then it is mithya. Actually, you are Atma, but you are not feeling it. That is mithya. There, you are not lion, but you are telling that you are lion. That is gauna. You got it? No, I don't. I think I'm clear in that.
There is still that little. Maybe we'll read it one more time, or anybody else wants to explain what you've understood. That's fine. But what I found very beautiful in Shankara's explanation that every action is preceded by is because of ignorance, is that he talks of activity as anything which is chalanatmaka. Anything that moves is activity, is action, is karma. So this chalanatmaka, it can be it can be from three aspects. It can be bodily, vachika, kayika, vachika, as well as manasika. So therefore, even any mental activity, like what Mrinal had asked earlier, pursuing knowledge also is actually an activity, is a karma. Till we realize that we are the Atma, till then that pursuing knowledge itself is also a karma. So
and even breathing.
Breathing. All this is the chalanatmika, right? So all
so,
this.
So when you become moksha, you don't breathe?
No. The thing there is because jnanena karma sannyasa happens there.
Yeah. You read, but you don't.
Yeah.
You're not the doer.
Christians, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, he does everything, but he
yes, correct.
Does not see himself as the doer. He is not the doer there. Isn't it? So that is knowledge, and that you can get only through knowledge and not through any karma. The whole point of Purva Pakshi is saying you can gain moksha through karma. That is the whole main crux of the Purva Pakshi or the Purva Mimamsa. They're holding on to the karma kanda of the Veda and saying it is only through karma that you can gain moksha. You can gain moksha through karma. And for that, they're bringing in so many arguments. And now they've brought in this new thing called Gauna Pratyaya.
I have one clarification to have. This Pratisiddha karma is similar to Naishkarmya karma?
No, Pratisiddha karma is Nishiddha karma.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Nishiddha
Nishiddha
karma.
is
Okay.
to be not, that is not to be done. The thing that is to be avoided.
Right. Nitya karma, Naimitika karma, and then the Nishiddha karma is the one, the Pratisiddha karma, right?
Correct.
Okay.
He has given so many karmas. We have to read once again. So many, Shankara
I
has given.
understand most of it, but that one different name.
No, I think there are only 4 kinds of karmas. No, Nitya Naimitika karma.
Kamya
Nishiddha,
karma and Prayachitta karma.
5 types. Kamya karma and Prayaschitta karma.
Is that the there is a Naishmika karma? Is that
Naishkarmya karma.
What is that one? Is Naishkarmya?
Naishkarmya is the one that the jnani does, which is he does not have the kartritva bhavana. That is a Naishkarmya.
Naishkarmya karma. Yeah, we read it somewhere and I couldn't put the thing. Okay, got it. Thanks. Yeah, again here, where they're separating the Atma and the body-mind complex as an Atma and then Atma separate. There is one word where you use that Indriyani, Indriye, something like that, right? And what does that mean? Like, I know it's Indriyani is like sensory organs, but I read that several times in the last few chapters when we are reciting in the 3rd or 4th chapter, and even today we are at that same line. Indriyani, Indriye, something.
Indriyani indriyarteshu iti vartante. That is, the Atma, the Jnani knows that the Atma, body, mind, sense complexes just acts, but he is not the actual doer. I think that is the meaning of that thing.
Right, but we could use that rather than like your body is doing it, your mind is doing it, rather than I do it, like right?
Yeah.
Hariom, instead we can just say it's happening.
So yeah, we can also say it's all he's doing rather than you're doing it, so that is there. But then, for a person to understand who you're not following any of these knowledge or the Vedanta, how are they going to understand you when you say it, So that is what
I have one point to make, Brahmaraji.
Yes, Vijay.
So what I feel is, okay, there is sometimes a danger of getting lost in knowledge also. Meaning, look, what Shankara probably said at that time was relevant at that time. Today, from what I understood about Advaita, Vedanta, generally, whatever I've heard is, we are not very rigid. Meaning, we accept all other points of view also. Yes, this is one point of view. Others have other points of view. That's also okay. Look, ultimately, whether you realize you're the Atma or you go and merge with Krishna or whatever the other points of view may be, that's all okay. So sometimes in this knowledge, we might get lost at that intellectual level and forget our true north. It's okay, meaning as for Advaita Vedantis, we know, okay, Atma is the only thing, or that's what we are. But we maybe at that time when Shankara said, this is what I heard some Swamiji mentioning, that at that time, lot of people were moving towards Buddhism or other religions or whatever were prevalent at that time. There, Shankara to safeguard our, that's where he brought in all these points of view. But at this point in time, in the current era, maybe it's not as, yeah, today also conversions, a lot of things are happening. But today, Advaita Vedanta is much more accommodating of all other points of view. In fact, I know a lot of people who are Vaishnavites attending the Advaita sessions. Like if we really see, we are Dvaitins, if you really see. We till today, till you realize your Atma, you are in duality. We are all living in duality. Right from childhood, we are made to realize we are different, God is different, and there is God, pray to him daily. All this is how we are brought up. Even at this age, maybe we still feel, yes, praying to God. That is what it is. God is someone higher power, something somewhere. So I sometimes feel, even once I heard Gurudev mentioning in some satsang, he said, you can get lost in logic, drop logic, and magic happens. This is what he said. It was very rhyming when he said it. Drop the logic and magic happens, or magic logic goes, magic happens. Something like that he said. So sometimes
I agree with you.
Caught up in that logic and trying to get concepts and all, we can become very well informed, and it becomes like any other objective science. But this is subjective science, which means it's about the subject. It's all about us, about me, about I, whatever. So there we slowly need to take it. Yes, it's good to know. Yes, fine. But may not need to really go too much into is my opinion, my frank opinion.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that perspective.
Even I was feeling that way. Not too much, means we had to know the gist, what it means, that much only. If you go on thinking too much, we'll be thinking only, but not doing it.
Which is true, but the reason why I completely agree that Shankara had a different intention at that point, but our own mind, the reason why I think Nana is making do this exercise is because in our own mind, in our sadhana, in our pursuit of knowledge, we might get these little doubts, like the Purva Pakshi is raising these doubts. So the answers that Shankara has given is to answer that Purva Pakshi in us that might crop up in our contemplation. So I agree that you should not, try and go deep and see, oh, I'm not able to get this, what is this, and things like that. But it pays to pay attention to it. Not just negate it and say, oh, I'm following Advaita, so this doesn't really make sense to me. I'm not going to give it importance. Because you never know at what time maybe there is, because see, all said and done, maybe today's session was a little too into logic about this Gauna and Nitya Pratyaya and all that. But in what we studied, what we read yesterday, day before yesterday, there was so much of clarity coming up with respect to avidya, how avidya is the cause for desire, raga, dveshas, and then therefore action. And there was so much of clarity with respect to nitya naimitika karmas, about the importance of nitya karma, why nitya karma is important, why you have to continue doing them. So all said and done, there was a lot of clarity also that dawned, isn't it? which is true. I don't think you should.
Yeah, we should not negate it. I'm not saying that at all. But yeah, it's good to know a lot of things got clear also. But I think I don't know, maybe this is my point of view. Like, we have to have practical application, right? That's where the whole thing starts, when practical application happens. And if you really, I don't know whether right thing to say or not, I feel it's all about how we manage our mind, right? At the end of it, everything finally boils down to how much of a say do you have over your mind? Nothing else. Okay, other knowledge will happen once we have transcended that part. But our starting step is to be able to manage the mind, understand the mind, and start managing it. What is it going for? And do you have a say to say, no, I feel like having something, but I'm not going to have it? That is where I feel the starting point. Then slowly, yes, where we have gained some mastery over, not mastery, some, what do we say, a little bit grip over it. Then slowly, yes, all this knowledge which we have heard, read, will start to really getting, like somebody said, happening. It will start to happen. But that is the basic thing, is to have a say over our mind. This is what I feel. I don't know whether it's right or wrong.
It is, of course, right. That is why we're all here. We all have had a say over our mind. That is why we're actually able to come on this Zoom meeting, isn't it? So
Yeah.
we have started, the LKG maybe is done. We are graduating little by little, step by step. So to create that more, to refine our clarity. See, all said and done, all this is required, like Nana had said yesterday or day before. He said this is important because it will chisel in your line of thinking. When you sit at the seat of contemplation, when you're doing this, Manana, of course, is to clarify any doubts and all that. And Nididhyasana is for you to establish yourself, to get that Jnana Nishta. So when you're doing that, there may be these impediments that come up, the pratibandhakas that come up. And some of them could be the arguments that the Purva Pakshis are giving. And we hear so many things. No, see, it is not just this class that we listen to. We read from what Gurudev says, we listen to someone else sends some video, we look at that. So all those are intellectual inputs that might sometimes confuse the seeker. So I think this, what Shankara
See,
is
we
trying to
cannot control my
Sorry? Can't hear.
Sharla ji, I think your internet is shaky. We can't hear you.
or 100%.
Can't hear, Sarlaji.
Jai Gurudev.
That's why in Bhagavad Gita it is saying in okay with the reason. Okay, no problem.
Jai Gurudev. I want to add a little bit over here that of course Vedas say neti neti neti, but before we qualify to say neti neti, we should understand what we are going to negate. So it is important that whatever we are going through just now, it's see day by day, before 6 months how we were and how today we are. So from duality only we will automatically, because that it is imprinted so deeply into our understanding, that the duality. So to reach to miss that non-dual this thing, we need to go through all these steps which we are going through now. We cannot just नेति नेति बोलने के पहले किसको नेति नेति बोलना है वो तो समझना पड़ेगा ना. And that is why these steps are important. See, definitely, at least for myself, I can say that many times means by the time just very quickly I come back to the center after this knowledge, before getting lost too much into the the objects, people, and the events which are happening. And that coming back to the again and again center, this is happening due to this knowledge which we are going through and the sessions which we are going through. Definitely these steps are very much needed. Maybe it is little bit of postgraduate or PhD kind of steps, but one or the other day we must have to go through these steps. Otherwise, it will just remain the concept that Advaita Siddhant. Advaita Siddhant also from childhood, here and there we have heard. It's not that we are Aham Brahmasmi and whatnot. But then to experience that coconut, no, the wet coconut is completely attached to the outer shell. And slowly as it becomes completely dried, it gets separated from its cover. Same thing has to happen with us also. We have to completely dry up the Bhavasagar, the body mind complex, and it is definitely all of us, we are moving in that direction. Maybe sometimes we can understand and acknowledge from our small mind and intellect, and sometimes we can't differentiate. But just pat your back that we are sitting like this and discussing. I'm very, very grateful for these steps. Brahmaraji, Nanaji, and every one of you. Jai Gurudev.
Yes, I agree with it, but advanced course helps us with this knowledge. Advanced course, we can go more deeper. That is the ultimate, actually. The advanced course is the being, not doing anything. You see there? That is what we have to be. But with that, we have to be in samsara. With that feeling, we have to be here. And with this knowledge, it helps us.
So I like
Of
the
course, of course.
part where Swamiji tells, he himself, he says, without this Atma Jnana, living life is so foolish. He says, just imagine how your life would have been without this Atma Jnana, without even this little inkling about Atma Jnana. I'm not talking about what we're discussing. I'm steering it away from that. But I agree that everybody's point of view is fine. Like how Gurudev says, when you're reading Yoga Vashishta, he says, read it innocently. So I think we'll do that now. Sometimes there are some concepts that are not clear. You go with the belief that as you keep going, it'll get clearer and clearer. If there's a doubt, you go back and reread it. Absolutely fine. Yeah. So, but what he said, Swamiji said was, I just want to do that. He said so beautifully, he said, life without this inkling of Atma Jnana is so foolish. See, in the vision of Veda, what is meaningful is to gain moksha. Just imagine a life without exposure to this Atma Jnana. How did you live before this? I also try to imagine how I was living without any exposure to this knowledge. In fact, Swamiji is talking about himself there. It is foolish, absolutely foolish, to live a life without any exposure to this teaching. Such a life has no meaning whatsoever, because one does not know what one is doing. It is a total surrender to some kind of general idiotic pursuit. Until you begin searching, you cannot say that anything is useful. When you look back at all these pursuits, it all looks so silly. But it is a shift in the attitude. You continue to live life. That's the same world, same people, same situations, same work you have to do. But when with this background of Atma Jnana, then when we shift our attitude to that of a karma yogi, then that becomes meaningful. Life becomes meaningful.
Jai Gurudev.
No, we have to raise above karma yogi. That is what we are going to.
First, let's become karma yogis, proper karma yogis. No? First, we have to be proper karma yogis in the truest sense. Are we able to do any action without dropping the feverishness for the results of the action. Are we able to do that? Are we doing that? Are we taking any action? Are we offering it as an offering to Bhagavan? Are we taking the result also? In all our day-to-day activities, from the time we get up till the time we go to bed, are we able to inculcate and bring in the fabric of karma yoga in and through our activity, even our thoughts? When you post some social media post and you expect so many likes, so many people, everybody should like, that is an expectation. And if you don't get that, you're upset. So you're not a karma yogi there. Isn't it? So I think we first have to become established in karma yoga. Then we can automatically, it will go. The next step will automatically happen. Our polishing is all, our sadhana is all about becoming true karma yogis. Not just saying karma yoga, but then in the truest sense, right deep within, are we actually able to, live it?
Jai Gurudev, going back to discussion about Madhuri ji and Suresh ji, yes, we can get it through this advanced course. But how many advanced courses? We need to go, do lot of advanced courses, then we'll get. Because in basic course, Guruji has given us a ultimate, the 5 points, and that's it. But to realize, to know those 5 points, it took us so long. Same way, after doing so many advanced courses, we'll come to that. But whereas this knowledge is, we are ready to get it. And that's how we are getting it slowly, 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 and we are moving. Jai Gurudev.
Like how Gurudev said, no? He said, if you can live and do actions, live in the world without getting any impressions of your actions, then you are Krishna, your Bhagavan. It's very difficult to act and not take the impressions of your actions. So ultimately, that is the step. From a karma yogi, you go on, graduate to become a jnani. But that's the challenge, and that's the sadhya for us. That is our goal. Yeah. Does anybody else want to share anything? Or I would just like to go through the headings of what we read today, so that we can just quickly recap what we read today. I'm not going to go through all the details, just the headings. We started from 437. How beautifully Swamiji has summarized all the 18 chapters. Really, I think those 4-5 pages, it's so beautiful to go through and read them again. You should do that one of these days. So he starts off with, what is that? He talks of 13th chapter, 14, 15, 16, then he comes through what are the lakshanas of the jnani. And then in the 18th chapter, he comes to, he talks of the 12th, 13th chapter. And then 14th chapter. I think one of these Manana sessions, we should just run through the pages where he summarizes all the 18 chapters of the Gita. That will be a useful.
I liked that in 18th chapter, that anistam, istam, mistram cha, trividam karmana phalam. That Nanaji explained very, very well. I like that. That is 18th, 12th verse. Wonderful.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'll read subheadings. The whole last few paras didn't have any subheading. It was all summarizing the Gita. It is not established that all karma is preceded by ignorance. This was the objection by the Purva Pakshi, because he says, when you do karma, when you do Nitya karma, you know the Veda has given you the knowledge of the Nitya karma, and therefore there is knowledge preceding the action. Like the one who does karma known to be pratisiddha from the Shastra is an Ajnani, so too is the Nitya karma. This is the Vedanti's answer. It is like killing of a Brahmana. Here he gives the example of how like killing a Brahmana is a crime according to the law, like killing any individual. On the other hand, according to Shastra, it is a great crime. So honestly, I did not really. So because he has avidya, that of the pratisiddha karma, or he knows that he should not do, but he still does it. I think that is how Shankara describes this, no? It is ignorance of Atma that is the cause of action in general.
That is the problem, no? We know everything
says,
that we should not do it, but we do it.
Yeah. He says, I do the karma not because of that knowledge, but only because of a desire for the result. And that desire is born of ignorance. And therefore, ignorance precedes all action. Because there are others who have the same knowledge but do not do that karma. Even though one has knowledge of the means and the ends, one may employ the means or one may not. Thus, knowledge of the means and ends does not impel one to act. It is only ignorance. And what kind of ignorance? It is ignorance of the Atma that propels one to act. It is not possible to do any Nitya Karma without knowing the Atma is distinct from the body. This is the Purva Pakshi's objection. And this year, merely knowing the Atma is distinct from the body is not total knowledge. This is how Shankara gives. He says that is only Paroksha Jnana. It is only a belief that has to come to your experience. Unless that comes to your Aparoksha Anubhuti, it is not complete knowledge. Any karma is due to ignorance alone. This is the Vedanti's, Shankara's stance. And then the expression I do is only gauna, a figurative expression, Purva Pakshi's objection. The Purva Pakshi elaborates his stand. This gauna was a new. This is all about the simile and the metaphors that Devadatta is a lion or the student is fire. It does not mean the subject and object are the same. There is only a comparison. Whereas the mithya pratyaya is what is superimposed and not the basis, adhishtana of the superimposition. So when I perform this ritual, I know the body and Atma are distinct and therefore it is not error. Mithya pratyaya, but gauna. So says, this is the Purva Pakshi stand. Says it's not mithya. But the Vedanti says the I cognition in the body is not figurative, but erroneous. Erroneous here is mithya. So it is not the gauna, it is the mithya pratyaya. He gave the example of the son, of the father saying the son is himself. But when the son eats, it is not the father who eats. So similarly, even though the karma is done by the body, mind, sense complex, the notion I am the agent is very much there. If it is not, how can he ever perform a karma? Therefore, that concept, that cognition, that I cognition is that false notion that I am the doer. I am the doer itself is the mithya pratyaya. So therefore, it is not gauna, it is false nitya. That is what Shankara is coming to, the conclusion. And then goes on. And we've stopped here, I think. We need to start here tomorrow. This is good, no? This one, I'll just read this one before we wind up. The Shastra says, for example, that a certain ritual is to be done. No, when we have to ask if you perform no action, then for whom is the result of action karma phala? It cannot be for you. Further, if you do not do the action, then how can Shastra address you? The Shastra says, for example, that a certain ritual is to be performed by a Brahmana whose hair is not grey. That is, by a Krishna Kesha Brahmana. There are hundreds of specifications like this. To whom do they apply? Unless you have the I sense in the body-mind sense complex, there is no way that you can consider yourself qualified to do these rituals. Only if that identification exists can you say that you are a Brahmana, etc. The Shruti enjoins a certain action for a Brahmana. Only if you consider yourself a Brahmana will you consider yourself addressed by that injunction. Thus, it is clear that considering oneself a Brahmana is not a Gauna Pratyaya but a Mithya Pratyaya. The difference becomes very clear. The understanding, I am the agent, Karta, cannot be appropriate if the body is only figuratively the self. So basically, he's saying it is not I am the body that all of us understand or we take is not a Gauna Pratyaya, it is a Mithya Pratyaya. It's a false notion. Yeah. I think we will. Anyone wants to add anything? If not, I think we'll close in here. Swami Dayananda is known for his very logical train of thought. I happened to attend a couple of his lectures when I was young and as a child, as a teenager. And I remember there was one lecture in the Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan. But, you know, in order to listen to him, you have to be very attentive. If you miss even one sentence, you've lost the whole train of, the conclusion, the derivation. It is like, for me, listening to him is like doing your mathematics problems, like how you derive, you have a, what is that, a law or something, and then how you prove that law in either trigonometry, geometry, all of that. So unless you follow all the steps, even if you miss one step, you've kind of lost the boat, missed the boat. So he's got that level of intellectual acumen. So I think only a refined intellect can get that depth of thing, no? That is beautiful. And that is why he's able to give such an exhaustive commentary on Shankara's Bhashya. And we are indeed fortunate. We may not understand everything like Vijayji said, which is fine, which is good, which is not, I'm not saying good, but we don't need to get caught up with that. I think in due course, compared to what I'm talking of myself, compared to what I was like, say, 7, 8 months ago to what my understanding of the Gita is, I can see a big difference. Earlier, it was only little concepts gathering here, there, some statements, but there was no true understanding. The inner clarity was not there. But I can see little by little that clarity is kind of dawning. So I think that is what we'll all get in due course. We should have the Shraddha. That's all. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Gurudev.